Welcome back to Get Motivated and Fit TV. If you're new to the channel, as always, the concept behind Get Motivated is to get more out of life. So first, I just want to start off by saying thank you to all my new subscribers. They're slowly, they're climbing up, right? But again, I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. If y'all saw my last video, I gave y'all I talk about investing in yourself, right? When it comes to, to better yourself in a healthier lifestyle. So today, what I wanted to talk about is I've been because I drive as a profession, right? I'm in public transportation. So lately I've been, seeing all these different jobs, hiring, but the starting pay is 11, 13 the hour. And it makes me think for me, and I get it, right? Like if before I get before I go into depth, I mean, if that's where you're at right now, if that's the only job that you're able to get for whatever reason, like, hey, by all means, like, get on your grind, right? But for me, like, I guess with my thought process, like, I don't know if I can live off of 11, 13 an hour. Now, I get it. For the most part, it's probably for somebody who's going to a college and they need a part-time job. I get that. I do, right? Just to have some extra money to pay off, a couple bills here and there. But to make a living, I don't know. Like, that just doesn't sit well with me. And I just started to think, like, I remember my first job. The first job I ever got was working at a restaurant, at a Chinese restaurant. And I think I was making like $5.25 the hour. So of course I was in high school, and at that time, I think my I think my every 2 weeks when I would get paid, I think it was like 160, 180 every 2 weeks. And at that time in high school, I was just like, man, I thought I had money, right? And I'll never forget my dad. He told me this, that he goes, if you're gonna stay at any job, you want to work your way up, right? Whether it's management, whether it's becoming a regional manager, but you don't want to stay at the bottom. You want to work your way up. And then he goes on to say, now, because maybe this is just for you to get that experience, as far as like work history. And he goes, maybe you want to go elsewhere, but the same thing, you don't want to go to another job where you're going to get paid the same or less. You always want to get paid more for the hour. So I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is, seeing those jobs that I saw that, now hiring. And I'm pretty sure they're desperate, looking for help, for people to work. But again, right, like 11, 13 an hour, that's just like, can you really survive with that, right? Like, can you maintain a living, paying rent, your car, all the bills that come with it? Probably not. But like, if you're in that environment, or if you're in that, with that pay, if the opportunity is there for you to move up, go for it. You want to look at, okay, where is the money? Like, who in that company, who's getting paid the big bucks, and what can you do to move up, to climb up the ladder, so to speak, right? Because you don't want to stay at 11. And I'll never forget, there was a point in time where I did work at Whataburger at one of my jobs, and at that time too, like, I was basically going from job to job. And this was, of course, before I started my personal development. So I'll never forget, I met with the general manager, and we did an interview, and he basically looked at my resume, and he's like, well, I'll tell you this. He's like, you like to work, or you're very, what was the word that he said? you're unstable. And I kind of took a step back, and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it like that. But I do like to work. He goes, yeah. He goes, but why? He goes, looking at your resume, the longest job that you've had was like 8 months. You haven't even hit a full year. I'm like, you know what? You're right. And he told me, he goes, I've been with this company for 10 years, but I started off just like how you're going to start off. But now I'm running. I think he said he has like four or six restaurants that he runs. Right. So he's like, the opportunity is there if that's something that you want to do. But you got to start from you got to start from the bottom, and work your way up, no matter how long it takes. And for me, like fast food, it wasn't for me. It was like like kudos to you if you're in the fast food industry, but like for me, like it wasn't for me. I had some issues with some coworkers, and it was better for me just to up and leave. Um, Let me see what else. Um, my older sister, like I've always told her because she's always been in the fast food industry, and the last time we talked, I told her like, like you should really consider, going up, like moving up. And I mean, yeah, it's gonna be more responsibility. It's gonna be more, more pay, more stress, but it's like that saying, right? More money, more problems. But it's all about, again, right here, right? The mindset. It's all about, you gotta think long term. You gotta see where you're gonna be at in the next 5, 10, 20 years. And I mean, if, like I said, if fast food was for me, I mean, I think I would have already been at Panda Express, to be honest with you, because every time I go there, I see it and I'm sure y'all see it too when y'all walk in on the wall, now hiring. And then I think for like a general manager, assistant manager, I mean, shoot, I think they're almost like 6 figures, I think. So it's kind of like, man, it's just something to think about. But again, you got to have that passion too. You can't just do it just for the money. You got to have that passion, because if you don't have that passion, if you don't enjoy waking up and going into work, yeah, you're going to be miserable like you are. I remember, one of my first few jobs too was I was working at call center jobs, and the same thing, like I wasn't happy. It was like I'm just sitting there for 8 hours a day, just, call after call. It was easy, but I was getting bored. It was repetitive. It was the same thing over and over. And at that time, I think the pay was like $8.32 an hour, $8.32 an hour. So I was like, man, but that was back then. Now, I mean, I'm glad that I went back to public transportation, but even before then, I was working at another call center, right? And I think I was getting paid like 15 the hour, and it was a struggle, to be honest. And I kind of just think like, like how does everybody maintain, or do y'all get like a second job, or do y'all get a third job? I mean, like, hey, you know what? To like that saying, to each their own. Um, Now I'm going to transition from, working to, there's also, the option of getting a degree, going to college. But you also got to keep in mind you will be in debt. And I've learned it doesn't matter whether you go to college to get a degree, or you get a certificate, you go to like a trade school, you're still gonna be in debt there as well. But just my opinion, at that point, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. You gotta have those connections too, because it's sad to go to go and get your 4-year degree. You're gonna be in debt, and then you're there looking for work, and no one wants to hire you because, one, you don't have the experience, or two, I mean, you're trying to get into some company, and for the most part, these, companies, they want to hire in-house too. They want to promote within in-house. So if you don't have that connection, and I'm not trying to discourage you, I'm just trying to let y'all, like, you got to think, differently, But for me, if I had to choose between going to school or going to a trade school, I would rather go to a trade school all day, learn a skill, because that's in demand, right? I've always said it, being in a barber, to be a barber, I think that's something that if you learn how to cut the hair, I think that's just an easy way to make money. And I've seen a lot, like, on social media. There is a lot of barbers, there is, but I mean, you gotta go out there and get in front of people. You gotta be like, what can you bring to add value to that customer, but also to have that same customer to keep going back, over and over, but that's just me. Like, I got my certificate in coding and billing, so I was already, this was before, again, right before this was when I was married back in, shoot, I think like 2011, 2012. So I knew, like, you know what, let's go to we went to what was it called? At the time it was called, I think, the Academy of Healthcare Professions, and then now it's something else. Anyways, so I went for coding and billing, and I already knew too, because I'm like, man, they get paid top dollar, they do, especially if you're in the I believe in the neurology, right, department. I think you get paid a lot more there. But with coding and billing, like, sky's the limit. Like, there's no cap. You can earn so much. But I had to learn the hard way, because once I got my certificate and I did my internship of 150 hours, and I took a whole year trying to find work, and nobody wanted to hire me because I didn't have the experience. And then in that sense, with the coding and billing, I mean, you're dealing with numbers, you're dealing with the codes. You're like, you got to make sure everything's on point, because if not, I mean, it's a liability if you're going to be charging a code or a procedure and it's the wrong code. And, you're either going to be overcharging, undercharging. So it's like, I took a whole year and nothing. So that's when I learned, right? That's when I knew, like, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. But of course now, like, if I were to go back into that, like, I would have to, do like a refresher, learn all the new codes. As far as I know, that's like, everything's been updated. And then fast forward 2018, I decided, let me get my CDL. So I did that. Like, I did truck driving, but I was never home. I mean, I got paid good money, but I was never home. And at the time, my kids were babies. I was missing out on a lot. Even though I think at that time I was already single, I was divorced. But I just, I couldn't be away from my kids, like, not that much. So I went into the public transportation, and I mean, it's been good ever since, It's been good ever since. But I mean, I feel like I just went on a rant, like, but, like, again, right, if you took anything from this video, if you're in that position, or if you know anybody that's working 11, 13 an hour, like, don't just stay there. Like, don't stay at that level. Like, find, do some research, get with the manager, and, like, hey, where's there opportunity for me to move up, so you can move up, so you can give yourself a raise, right? Whether it's from 11 to 15, from 15 to 18. I mean, you got to look into all that stuff, right? Or unless if you're just there temporary too, right? I mean, hey, by all means. But I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. You can't just rely on one income. Like, you can't. If you can find a second job, or if you can find a side hustle, if you can find, I'm telling you, like, we live in the digital era. Like, everything, you can make money online as long as you have internet, a phone, a tablet. I mean, the opportunity is there, right? But I think that'll be it for this video. I appreciate y'all. If y'all stayed watching till now, I appreciate it. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I hope y'all are well. I hope y'all are blessed. And I'll see y'all on the next one.